Yes, here we go again. We're on the road again, folks. It's that time. It's Friday night. The Friday feeling on the bus. We're off and running. So yes, it's as you can see as well, folks. It's a full house tonight on the bus. Usually, this is the quietest service of the week, and I'm usually scrambling around finding out who's going to be on with me till the 11th hour. But no, as you can see, folks. Although he is a bit bloody right now, to me, I said, no, he's back now. He's back now. But as you can see, we've got Johnny Logue joining us tonight. Now, last week he was supposed to be on. I think he tried to body swear the quiz last week, if I'm honest, but he's not escaping it tonight. Obviously, you were on standby. Then the next thing you know, you're in Barbados. What a life. But do you want to tell the viewers where you are tonight, Mr. Logue?
I'm currently in a very windy and blowy Miami Beach. So it's nice, but it's a bit. You can see what's done to my hair, I've lost all that. Yeah, it's very blowy and stormy out here. The Miami Beach isn't looking as busy as it sometimes does, I don't think.
It's probably still,
but it still looks all right.
Scotland right now because it's cold and it's wet. It's typical December weather, so yeah, I wouldn't mind trading where you are just now. To be fair, I mean it's still a
bit I think I'm quite happy to be here rather than over there, lads. Yeah.
But we're glad to have you join us anyway via the Wi-Fi in your hotel, and it's holding up very, very nicely. So hopefully it doesn't conveniently conk out before the quiz at the end of the show. I'll be keeping my eye on that one to see if it does. Of course, joining us as well.
Seems to be all right.
Joining us, Connor. What's all our power with you tonight about the game through the week? I'm sure we'll talk about that. It was a very, I saw a few mentions in the chat last night saying, I hope Connor watched the game. But obviously, I know Monday, I know what you said and whatnot, but we will, be talking about that and be talking about Hearts are in town tomorrow. You looking forward to that one, Connor?
No, really. Going on. I mean, I know that we won against Feyenoord in the Champions League, and everybody's back at saying, we're not that bad, but the league form's been just as bad recently, I think, as the Champions League form has just not caught up to us as badly. So, I think we're in for a game. The more definitely, and as far as the game the other night, what snippets I did catch floating in and out the kitchen when my dad had it on the TV through perfectly legal means. I don't think I really missed much. I think, we kind of got away with it in the end, and, the usual. It's the board will be happy, the board will be rubbing their hands, thinking that, we're justified, we're vindicated in not putting our money and investing in the club because, look, we scraped a win against Feyenoord and doubled the points tally of last season, even though they've crashed and burned out in Europe again. So, less said about that, the better.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely touch on some of those points now because, obviously, if you've been paying attention to social media, a lot of those things you've just said there's a few fans out there that are definitely going. They're the type that the board's definitely like with some of the stuff they're pushing with what you've just said there. But we'll get to that in due course. And, of course, what would a Friday night be on the bus if Phil and Liam aren't on together? And once again, tradition continues. It is Bus Heritage. Canada's favourite Tim, the wise man of the bus, the guy who's currently top of the leaderboard in the By the Numbers quiz. Liam, the punk duck Wallard Greenlaw. How are you doing, my man?
Hi, good, Phil. It seems like Celtic World on here tonight, huh? Johnny in Miami and Connor setting for, I don't know, Jungles a Fife or something.
I'm quite spread out, to be fair, But I say it is a busy bus, so it's good to have a nice busy Friday service. Because it's usually me always running around at the last minute trying to get this sorted. But nope, we're all good. But before, of course, we get started, guys, and get into it, of course, I'll remind all the viewers who are watching just now, do all that good stuff, helps us out massively. Of course, hit the like button, helps out in the old algorithm, traction on YouTube, all that stuff. Hit the subscribe button if you've not done so yet. We'll obviously try to get to 4,500 sort of next milestone for us. So I think we're at 4,300 something last time I saw. So if you haven't done so yet, please hit the subscribe button. Cost you nothing. Hit that bell notification as well. You'll be reminded when the bus is on the road, and there's plenty of time during the week that it is. Of course, get involved in our comment section tonight, and of course, share the link in the Voice of Bus far and wide on whatever social media platform you wish. And of course, you can go over to piesports.com and use the code BUS1888. You'll get 12.5% off your order for your tasty pastry treats. We know Johnny Logue's definitely a fan of those. He takes them all over the world, don't you, Johnny? You've sent us a few pictures where you've been enjoying Boise bus pie here and there around the world and whatnot, as well as the Boise Boss shirt, which is making an appearance tonight. That's got some serious.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, she's putting some serious miles over the last 6 or 7 months. Yeah,
has some of the pictures you send us before, but like the Rocky statue in Philadelphia, the Boise Boss shirt next to it, mad. It's certainly got into all the corners of the globe. Yeah. But no,
I must admit, I think my favourite one's been in South Africa with the elephants. Like, that was a good one.
That was a good one. That really was. But yeah, guys, that's all the good stuff out the way. Let's get started. Let's get into it. Hearts are in town tomorrow. The Jambos. It's usually one of the more fiercely contested games of the season. We've already played them once this season. We beat them 4-1 at Tynecastle. Bit of a difficult place to go. So we brushed them aside there. So you'd like to think with them coming to Celtic Park, Johnny, that we should be able to brush them aside again. But yeah, as Connor alluded to there at the start, domestic form's not been great. I mean, I've been looking at the fixtures so far, and it is just very stop-start. You look at some of the weird results we've had domestically, where 2 games in, we go to Pataudry, difficult place. We get a decent victory on the day, and then follow up by losing in the League Cup to Kilmarnock and drawing with St Johnstone. Then against all odds, we go to Ibrox and win, which nobody gave us a prayer about. You think, well, that's it. Now we can really kick it. I can remember the mood at the time when we beat them at Ibrox. They had Brendan Rodgers outside Celtic Park driving down London Road, with the aviator shades on and waving to the fans, and it seemed like everything was right. This is it. Celtic going to kick into gear now. Bit of a stuttery start. The League Cup's gone. It's fine. But we beat Rangers. We're going to be okay. And we actually went on a run of 5 league games in a row. I know people will say we've not won 3 games in a row. Yes, in all competitions, I understand. But in the league, we then won 5 games in the bounce. We won at Fir Park. We won at Almondvale. We won at Tynecastle. The 4-1 victory at Tynecastle was then followed up by a 0-0 draw against Hibs. We then won the next 3. The last of those 3 games beating Aberdeen 6-0, which is followed up by a 1-1 draw with Motherwell. Then we get back on track with 3 league wins in a row, and then lose to Kilmarnock last week. So you'd like to think that now that the distraction of European football is out the way, we've got to start kicking into gear now. We have to go on a serious run, Johnny, and start to find some serious form. 5 games between now and the January break. 15 points or bust for me.
Oh, it has to be, doesn't it? We need to go on the same kind of runs we've done on Angie's. Was Angie's first year when we went something like 15 or 16 games unbeaten, which really propelled us towards that first title under Ange. So we need to be doing something the same, and it needs to start tomorrow. The one of the problems is, you think about it. Generally you would say if a bunch of lads have gone out and got a good result like they did against Feyenoord on Wednesday night, that they would deserve to keep their place. But there's got to be changes to the team wherever we can make them. Injuries allowing. There's I don't know who's going to be starting tomorrow, obviously, but there has to be changes. There have to be long-term changes. We need to get. I think you and Mark were actually talking about last night that we need to try and get a settled team. I mean, that's one thing we were well used to, particularly the centre-back pair. And now I know the centre-back situation has been different this season because of the Starfelt moving on. The lads that we brought in, admittedly young boys, getting injured and suspended, and we've had a lot of chopping and change, and Scales has come in from nowhere. None more so than Welsh coming in from nowhere on Wednesday night.
That was wild.
I had to look at that 2 or 3 times to actually say, is that saying Welsh?
I'll tell you, I didn't even know.
My eyes getting worse than I thought they were.
Welsh has been so out of my subconscious. See, when the team got posted in the group chat, I just looked at it and went, pretty much what I expected. And it was only when I saw a few messages after it and I saw people on Twitter going Welsh, and I was like, wait a minute, I didn't even notice it because I didn't even register with me that he was there because I just had forgotten all about him. Mental. Yeah,
so as I said, we need to start trying to get a settled team. We need to try and be a lot less pedestrian than we've been in some of the games. I didn't see the St Johnstone game at all. I was away, and times didn't suit, but it was so pedestrian and lackluster on the second half against Kilmarnock. I thought there was a bit more impetus about the team on Wednesday night. They seemed to have a bit more urgency about them, and they need to keep that up and in fact increase it and get back to playing with a bit of swagger and taking teams down and putting them down and keeping them down. We had Kilmarnock down last week and we let them back up. We let them back up far too easily. So yeah. So I think it'll be a tough game, but I think we'll come through it tomorrow. I think
so as well. But Connor, we usually go through the team. We look at different positions. We might as well start at the back, starting the defence. Lagerbielke, a man who the manager himself had kind of threw it out there. As I said to Mark last night, it wasn't so much subtle hints, it was more blunt force trauma to the face. The way he was kind of just dropping it there in press conferences that him and Narovski just haven't been good enough in training and whatnot. But obviously he comes on, he gets the goal. Is there any chance that Lagerbielke starts tomorrow? I think I made a bit of a faux pas last night and I said something along the lines of, as a stat, that he's no conceded a goal domestically or something. I think it's in the league, because obviously he played in the Kilmarnock League Cup loss as well. But yeah, there was a period where him and Scales were basically the centre-back pairing, whether we liked it or not. And they did have a run of a few clean sheets in the bounce, but then he's just been exiled since then. But do you think one goal, the winning goal against Feyenoord, is enough to get him back in, or do you think it's going to be Scales and Carter Vickers' corner?
No, I think it's got to be Carter Vickers. Our defence just totally collapses when he's not in it, and you're lucky the big man can actually handle the pressure. Because without, if he was a defender playing for another team and didn't have his belief in his own abilities, then he could probably possibly crumble under it. No, I don't think that just because he scored a sitter, my granny, who's dead and buried about 20 years, could have scored, if she was standing on that line against Feyenoord, it justifies him coming into play. No, it'll be Carter Vickers in for me and Scales, because, obviously, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he got the man of the match performance.
Scales was good on Wednesday night. He was actually, to be fair.
I've seen a picture of it afterwards. So I would put Carter Vickers back in there, because I'm sorry, it's I don't understand where the confusion's coming from, because on one hand you've got Brendan Rodgers basically saying he's not good enough in training, he's not trying hard enough, this, that, and the next thing, and then after the game, post-match, I seen that Callum McGregor was coming out saying, he works really hard, he tries very well. So I'm like, is Brendan Rodgers talking shit, or is Callum McGregor just saying a spiel that it would say about any other player if it was them that scored? I have no idea. But, I think, do you know what we really need? We need a clean sheet. We've not had a clean sheet in, I think, about 6 games. And if you throw in Lagerbielke, who, fair enough, he's came in against Feyenoord and probably did all right, I wouldn't trust him. I wouldn't trust him to do that, because for whatever reason, it's up and down. There is no settled starting 11 in that team that has been consistently picked. The only relative bit of consistency has been a little bit of the back line, and that's with Carter Vickers and Scales. And I don't think we've lost. I'm not sure if this is 100% true, but I don't think we've lost a league game when Carter Vickers has been in the
I believe so. I think every time we've dropped points, Carter Vickers has not been playing. Yeah.
So if you're asking me, should we drop the best defender that's been in this league in a decade for Gustav Lagerbielke? No,
definitely not. And Scales should keep his place. Aye,
definitely. I don't want to see anybody else in there. I know that. Look, I think the Nat Phillips experiment is done. For what I've been seeing, he's getting recalled by Liverpool and that. Thank fuck.
Hope so.
There is a God after all. So I just think that Scales and Carter Vickers for now, until the next injury, undoubtedly.
Let's just hope that doesn't come too soon and we can get to January and perhaps, just perhaps, maybe address some of those problems, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Liam, do you want to talk about fullbacks? I know you love talking about fullbacks. I know your favourite player on the Celtic team plays fullback. But on Wednesday night, we did see a name that has came up a few times while you and me have been on shows when we're talking about who should play. We've seen this name thrown in here. Now, I don't think Mitchell Frame will start, but I did think the early signs were promising. Within seconds of coming on, I found like the first minute, I remember he zipped in a really good ball across like the face of the goal, and it was like, oh my God. That's like, because when usually Greg Taylor comes forward, he'll usually just get to a certain point and try and pass it sideways or pass it back the way not trying to beat him, but that boy, you know, I know he came on, he was playing in a more advanced position because Taylor was still on the park. But as far as I know, Mitchell Frame is actually a left back. But I don't think he'll start. But if he's in and around match day squads going forward, then, you know, I think the early signs are pretty good. I mean, at the end of the day, Kieran Tierney was thrown in at the deep end as well. If you remember how Kieran Tierney got his start in the team, it was because Emilio Ezagiri gets sent off in a Europa League game against Ajax, and then he had to start the next game against Fenerbahce and actually played really well. So again, with this boys coming in, getting a few sub appearances, then yeah, just start to ease them in. And of course, at right back, let's talk about another fullback that you're, well, you know very well because being over in Canada, but you've been worried about Alistair Johnston recently. We have touched on it before, but the goal we did concede on Wednesday night, he was left wanting big time. The ball that was pinged through, if you see the replay, he's tucking in, he's running towards the middle of the box and does not at any point be aware of the defender or the striker over his shoulder, and it just falls into that guy's path, and he just hits it on the half volley into the net, and then it's like, then you see Johnson turned around like, oh, I can't believe that's happened. It's like, mate, that's been a few times this season. You know, he started to look a bit shaky. I hope he doesn't go that way because I do like Alistair Johnston, but there is a few concerns there. I do think Johnson will start as well. I don't think Ralston will come in. But what about yourself? Talk about the fullbacks. We know how much you love Greg Taylor. You know how much a Friday night tradition now, Liam. There's got to be a Greg Taylor rant of some kind. But first and foremost, let's talk about positive. What did you think of Mitchell Frame?
Mitchell Frame, first of all, I was surprised that he came on to play attacking midfield. I thought he would have replaced GT. And I thought when he came on, he looked good. He looked direct. What were we looking for? We were saying that we're missing right now. We're missing power. We're missing speed. And we're missing somebody that can whip a ball into Kyogo. Greg Taylor doesn't provide any of that stuff. Yeah. Neither's Alistair Johnston. So the two things are the way we score goals or the way Kyogo score goals are disappearing. So if we've got people that we can come in and replace, I'd replace Johnston with Ralston in a minute right now because Ralston, you know, can contribute the things. They're both to be equally inept defensively. In fact, I'd say Johnston's positioning's a lot worse than Ralston, and I say he's not nearly as good in the air as Ralston. You know, or like making last-ditch efforts and recovering or going to the other side of his box to make a last-ditch tackle. You get a lot of Ralston. You also get a good overlap going as well. Johnston does it. You don't see him taking to the outside, overlapping, taking it to the touchline and getting it in. That's a staple of Ralston's game. You get that once a game. What you also get is that ball that comes through the back that's going to split the defence that Kyogo can run onto. All these ways defenders playing are ways that Kyogo can score, and same way our other forwards as well. And we're missing that. So if I was Brendan, yeah, I would look at, if you're being scientific about football, look at the position and who's actually playing better. And I think Ralston would actually help Kyogo score more goals. And I think if we replace Taylor with Frame or Scales or anybody else that can deliver on those same requirements that you need to play in this team, that would help us start getting the ball across into the middle where it creates more scoring opportunities. And, you know, the defensive stuff alone, that's how you can improve defensively. I mean, offensively, defensively, Jesus Christ. I mean, maybe it's time for Rodgers to start three at the back. If Taylor and Johnson aren't in it, okay, here's the way you get Lagerbielke in the squad. You get comfy carpet slippers, as Rusty says, and Scales. Yeah. You know, maybe there's a room for Alistair Johnston on the inside, but I don't know. I'd rather, you know, see somebody like Nawata or something there.
Yeah, I do think something does need to change with the system right now because it is very slow and plodding right now, and I feel like there's a lack of enthusiasm just across the board right now when a Celtic game's coming around because of the performances so far. I get the whole point about, you know, a win is all that matters really, and that is true. That at the end of the day, that is the bread and butter of it. But still, it's like some of the games you're having to sit through. But again, what I read out at the start when I talked about the forum, even like last Wednesday, I thought the performance against Hibs at home was fantastic. thought he played really, really well over the course of the night. I thought we were really direct and attacking, and then we follow up with that absolute abomination of performance against Kilmarnock, where the second half we just looked spooked. I don't know how it even fell apart like that, because the half time, the first 20 minutes against Killie, I think we came out all guns blazing. We should have been a few goals up. We get ahead, and Killie had a few chances going into half time, but you thought, well, okay, we've still got the lead here. But the second half, you just couldn't see that coming, the way we just completely capitulated. And it just feels like at the moment there is, Mark talked about last night, we've already mentioned it again about the consistency in the team. We were in December, and I don't think Brendan Rodgers knows what the best 11 is. Okay, there's been a lot of injuries. There's been suspensions in the Champions League, plenty of those. It's trying to get a consistent 11, and we're now heading towards this January window again, and it's blatantly obvious that we definitely need some reinforcements coming in, and that will shake things up again if we do actually delve into the market, which again we definitely need to do. Now, a man that just got mentioned there though by Liam, Johnny, was Awater's name came up. Awater obviously went off injured through the week as well. Can't catch a break. So I felt he's played okay in the games that he's came in. It was like I felt like it was getting more out of Callum McGregor, because McGregor's form, it's not been amazing up to now. It's been, I think, playing too deep has not worked for him. But with Awater playing there, I think McGregor's looked a bit more in games recently. And now Awater goes off injured, and it's like, is he fit to play tomorrow? Has there been any update on that one? Maybe somebody in the chat can tell us. It feels like we just can't catch a break every week on the Friday feeling. I seem to discuss the one shot that's really up for grabs right now for somebody to take it while Hitati is injured is obviously his position. And it's been a bit of a merry-go-round. Bernardo only starts Champions League games. I don't know what they're going to do with him now. We ain't got any European games to play, so who knows? Iwata came in. I think he's done okay. Turnbull seems to still be a favourite of Brendan Rodgers. He'll get on the park somehow in most games. And Iwata, and just so... But tomorrow, I don't know who gets that nod. I'd like to think if Iwata's fit and can make it, that he would continue there. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised to see David Turnbull appear, Johnny.
It wouldn't surprise you at all. Going away Iwata, I think he's what you would call, he's quietly effective, isn't he? It's not always necessarily some piece of outstanding skill. He lets McGregor get a little bit further forward, lets McGregor do some more stuff up where he is more effective, and Iwata just quietly patrols his area of the park and gets on with it. And then, as we've seen at Tynecastle, pops up with a goal every now and again, especially with O's made an arse of his attempt. Iwata was been, there to back him up and put the ball in the back of the net, as he did it in the Tynecastle game anyway. So he's one of these ones who's quietly effective. He's not, I don't think he's what you call a flash or a fancy player. He just keeps things basic and simple and does the job effectively, which allows other players to do their job effectively. I'd like to think he'd be playing if he's fit. I think the way he went off, I don't think he will be fit tomorrow. I think he tried to play on through it, didn't he? And he did. I think it became quite obvious quite quickly that he wasn't going to manage that. Whether he's just a little bit lightweight on that front, I don't know. But I think it'll be Turnbull spinning around in the midfield tomorrow. And then probably come up with a 30-yard thunderbolt into the back of the net to score a penalty. Who knows? Well, him and Palmer might have a bit of a fight over who takes the next penalty. Now that Palmer seems to have abandoned that stupid run up that a lot of players like to do nowadays. I think me and Liam will probably have been of the same sort of vintage. We'll agree it's Tommy Gemmell's the way you do it. You just run up, you put your laces through it, and if the keeper gets in the way of it, he goes in the back of the net with it. So that's another aspect to talk about. But I think if Iwata's not fit tomorrow, Turnbull would probably be the one who gets the call for that. As you said, he's seen Brendan seems to like him, so
which is strange because his contract's running out Well, we haven't heard any word about any contract extension, which to many is probably a good thing. Right now, you can hear Marc Cairney somewhere going, yes, because he doesn't definitely want to stay. He definitely doesn't. And I understand why. But you would think we having bought guys like Home, who's our actual player that needs game time and needs development. This is a boy who Brendan again alluded to, kind of has one eye on out the door. Why is he still getting game time? So it's a bit of again, it just adds to the whole confusion over what is our strongest team right now. Genuinely don't know. But yeah, I would probably say it's going to be Turnbull. If Iwata's not making it, then I think Turnbull will rotate back in. But Bernardo might be worth a shout. I know it's not a European game, Brendan. I know you only play him in European games, but we ain't got any anymore to play, so you may as well start using Bernardo. Because we do have an option to buy this guy, but right now fans just aren't convinced because we haven't seen enough of the guy other than these fleeting European performances. So maybe he'll get the nod. Who knows? But yeah, that is the one shot I think that's always up for debate at the moment until Hitate's back. But when Hitate is back, he needs to hit the ground running because we have definitely missed him. But a midfielder who is doing the business, Connor, can we talk about Matt O'Reilly and how well he's been playing this season? Despite obviously last week's disappointment losing to Kelly, he obviously did score the goal and he's been banging in goals pretty consistently this season. And a brilliant ball on for the winning goal through the week for Lagerbielke to head in at the back post. I did think it was Alistair Johnston that did ping it across, so I did notice people in the chat did point that out. Johnston did ping that pass, but initially in real time, I thought he'd overhit it. I was like, that's quite a deep ball to play, but O'Reilly controlled it brilliantly. And yeah, just put it on a plate. Like you said earlier on, it was a sitter essentially. He couldn't miss it. It'd be harder to miss. But overall, O'Reilly, I think, when you look at it, Connor, out of a really disappointing Champions League performance for Celtic over the course of the 6 games, there's no ways about it. It was Celtic could have, and for me, should have achieved better. But he is one player I think we can say he came out of it very well. You look at the assists that he got for Kyogo in the Atletico Madrid game, the first time pass. Same with the Lazio game, 2 very similar goals. And then that one on Wednesday night. Yeah, he's definitely a prize asset right now and so vital to this team. He's the one, again, I'm talking about how things are a bit lethargic and a bit flat. He is the one sort of real bit of excitement right now, isn't he, Connor? Matt O'Reilly.
Aye, there's a quite a weird comparison to the COVID season. Obviously, during that, David Turnbull was the one good thing that was sticking out in that, and now this season, Matt O'Reilly's the one shining light that seems to be peering through the ever-encroaching darkness of this season or so far. But I mean, obviously, I'm being a bit facetious there. It's no as bad as that season. We're still clear in the league for now, and we've still got the chance to have a successful season. But he's been playing very, very well recently. He's took his game a step up, and I think that's in spite of Rodgers, because you can't tell me that he makes an entire rest of the team worse and then makes one player somehow markedly better. That doesn't make sense to me. So I think it's more in spite of Rodgers' influence, if that's the way you want to put it. I don't know if that's because he wants to put himself in the shop window, because he's signed a new contract and he's hot stuff right now. We would get a pretty penny, I think, if anybody was looking for him, because there's been articles wrote and all the rest of it saying that if he was to go, Celtic would be demanding a Scottish transfer record fee, for Matt O'Reilly. And to be honest, you could see it happening, like January or this summer coming, because I'd more likely be the summer, I think, because he's that important to the season so far. But he's the one good thing about it. I think he's just took his game to the next level, and I'm very, very happy for him, because obviously last season he was not hitting the heights. It took him a while to get going, and we were like, oh God, is he a flash in the pan? Because when he came in the January under Ange first time around, we were like, holy shit, this boy's incredible. We heard he was getting scouted by teams like Liverpool in the Premier League, and we're like, wow, we've got a gem here. Last season we're like, oh God, and now it seems to be paying off. Obviously I think he's integral. He cannot be dropped. He cannot be injured. He cannot have any bad personal things happen to him at all this season. Please,
Yes.
I hope Matt O'Reilly has the best year of his life. Because I think he's maybe the thing we have to pin our hopes on this season, and to be honest, that's quite worrying. But I think he is doing his best. He's the one person in that team that seems to be pulling the strings and getting involved and assisting, scoring goals, and being a real presence in that team. I think it's important that he keeps up the form he's been on, and yeah, I just hope it continues, because otherwise we really are up shit creek with a paddle, aren't we?
You see, he's been fantastic this season. Where he's dug us out a few holes. He's added scoring goals to his game, which is something he was definitely lacking the last season. It took him so long to get his first goal. I remember when he scored against St Mirren last season, and I think it was I was quite near the end of the season, maybe in a cup game we played them. But I remember when he finally scored it, and it was just a sigh of relief when he scored. He was just delighted to just get one finally, because it took him a good while. But he's definitely added it this year.
Did I not read reports? Sorry, Phil, but did I not read reports that during the summer, he's only there because Matt O'Reilly wanted to stay there. The Celtic board were quite happy to accept about 10 million quid from Leeds, and basically left it up to him. And he said no, he was staying.
Fucking shot as well, man. Honestly,
exactly.
I know. Leeds going down to Leeds for fucking £10 million when you've got players who aren't even half the player he is moving to clubs for 20-30 million pounds is ridiculous. It's just another reason why this board is so inept, and I can't wait until they're fucking shifted off this mortal coil.
Yeah, the thought of him not being there this season, it's quite a scary thought now when you think about it, because you are right, Johnny, and what you're saying. There definitely was a bid there, and I think it was there was a good chance. I think Brendan Rodgers maybe just got in his ear and just have told him this plan, and it's working well so far. That's, as I say, one of the main shining lights this season up to now. But also, let's talk about this, Liam. I've got a question from one of the viewers that I think is an interesting one to talk about, because this has been a topical thing recently. Ian McIntosh asked, does Brendan miss Chris Davis? Because obviously he brought him with him the previous time. He never got to bring him this time, and he had to inherit the staff that they gave him, which at the time we were like, well, John Kennedy worked with him before, that's fine. There was also some talk over Harry Kuehl was going to be leaving recently, because apparently Kevin Muscat was going to be leaving Yokohama F. Marinos to become the Sunderland manager. But apparently that's not happening now. Sunderland have got a new man at the helm, and we know him very well. Michael Beale apparently is about to be the Sunderland manager. So I guess Harry Kuehl ain't going to Yokohama F. Marinos if that's the case, because that was the whole move was in motion. That's what it was going to be. But he never brought in on any of his own men. I say pretty much was inherited what he got, and he gave it all the towing the party line stuff, as Brendan has done up to now. Say Brendan Light, maybe. So he's excited to work with these guys, and he's he likes working with new staff members and that. So do you think he does need his own men? And we're talking about the guys on the park need to change. He needs to get his own players in. But do you think he also needs maybe some familiar faces around him in the dugout as well?
I've been commenting on the chat for ages about this thing, Chris. I was shocked. I was shocked that he went with Ange. And so I wanted to see how long he'd been with Rodgers. And he'd been with Rodgers 4 or 5 different teams. They seemed to be like a double act for the longest time. And you see him gone this year. And it's no like he inherited Ange's backroom staff, but I think Ange could have took anybody, and it's like, right, this is what you do. It's like those chefs that come and get, these are the ingredients, here's how you cook it, do not move away from this recipe, or nay your input, nay flourishes, no, I think this is better, this is exactly how I want it. Now we're getting to see is the input of Strachan and Kennedy and and that, like the guys that's sort of had the same way they thought they could play football during the COVID years. Well, is it a wonder? Is it a wonder we're starting regressing to that thing? Is Brendan got hands-on control enough with the coaching staff right now that he's getting his philosophy across, and we're not reverting back to sort of best practices? Like we're seeing it with the youth team right now. Like, okay, so now we're getting maybe more of a, Darren O'Dee's philosophy, and
Steve McManus,
right? You see, and maybe that's why they are like just turned into a kickball team. Just hoofing it up the park. You don't seem to be developing anybody. I think he is missing them. I agree with people that think that. I think you see how Ange's doing with him right now, and I think what he needs, a really, really strong number 2, because when we seen it, when Neil Lennon needed them, they were nowhere to be found. They don't take enough blame for that Lennon season as well, because when they had their chance to shine, they didn't change anything, and they didn't really. We were still playing John Joe Kenny and like that, and Ryan Christie was still shoot on sight and and shit like that. And so I think maybe that could be the signing we need in the January window, is an assistant manager come in that's got something of a reputation, somebody again like a Harry Kewell that players can look up to, that has played in Europe. Something like Henrik Larsson or somebody like that. Or
no, Henrik's name does do the rounds whenever talked about backroom staff. Well, I'd say as a coach, I don't see any harm in it. As a as manager, I'm always a bit wary of these things because you don't want them to ruin their reputation in any way, shape, or form. But you're talking about assistant manager. Sometimes that can be the key. And this is Connor. You might be a bit too young to know this story, but I know that Johnny and Liam will know this. But it's well known that when Brian Clough went to Leeds United, he didn't take Peter Taylor with him. They had a bit of a falling out. Peter Taylor went to Brighton, and what was it, 70-something days that Brian Clough was Leeds manager before getting sacked. But then, of course, they made
44, wasn't it?
Was it less than that? 7 weeks.
Yeah, 44, I think, something like that. Yeah.
That was it. And then, of course, they made peace a few years later, went to Nottingham Forest together, and the rest is history. After what they did at Derby, but yeah, sometimes it is the guy who works behind them, essentially. The manager is basically the front of the store, but it's the guy in the storeroom at the back that does a lot of the graft as well. And sometimes they just need, to take that person with them. And maybe we're seeing something similar with Brendan. He's came in, he's working with all these boys that, as you said, Liam, it's Ange's backroom staff that he's pretty much inherited, which, by the way, Ange pretty much had forced upon him as well, remember? The only one that changed after he came in was Harry Kewell a year later, which you're like, okay, that's got to be an Ange influence one. But no, he got Kennedy, he got Strachan as well, and Stephen McManus were all thrown at him. And it's just continued on with Brendan. But hey, as we've talked about in the chat, it was a talking point last week when the Harry Kewell story first came out. Scott Brown, anyone? Is he going to appear as a coach? Mark was very quick to spot on that exact day when the Harry Kewell story was doing the rounds. The Celtic Twitter account put up a video, something to do with Scott Brown, about a Scott Brown moment, and he's like, this is them softening us up for the Scott Brown announcement. But as I say, turns out Sunderland have made a choice, so the whole chain reaction that was required for the Harry Kewell move to happen isn't going to happen now. Because they chose Michael Beale, so good luck to them with that. But anyway, bit of a basket case club Sunderland. If you've watched Sunderland Till I Die, you know that. And they're about to find out again. There's going to be a real basket case moment there with him in charge. But let's move on to forwards, Johnny. And obviously, the wingers, it's been a bit of a problem recently with all the injuries. Maeda and Abada apparently back in training. Don't think we'll see them tomorrow. Think it's still a bit too early. As it stands right now, it's probably still going to be Palmer and Mikey Johnston, James Forrest. What do you think? Who's going to get the nod? I think Palmer definitely starts, but who do you think plays in that other wing tomorrow?
I think it'll be definitely be Palmer and Mikey Johnston. And I don't think Palmer's quality. My only concern with Palmer is I think I could outrun him.
Yeah, he's not got the pace. Yeah, I agree.
He hasn't got pace. He's not going to skin a man for pace and get the ball across. Whatever he does, he's up against me. But he can put in a quality ball when he's given the space and the time to do it. Mikey Johnson, I just don't think he doesn't fill you with confidence. He's going to A, get past the man either, or B, when he gets into a scoring position, score a goal. And if we want to take Mikey Johnston and James Forrest, if you put both of them in a scoring position, which one would you put your money on to actually find the back of the net? Because I know it ain't going on Mikey Johnston. I'd put my money on James Forrest. But just as a throwaway line, the goal he scored against oh Christ, when they made it 3-1,
Forrest scored against St Johnstone. Yep,
St Johnstone. Yeah, just you know, Forrest. You knew Forrest was going to score that one as soon as it came in his general direction. You knew he was scoring that.
And with outside,
but when it comes to Mikey Johnson,
do that as well.
But he loves that. He loves that.
He does his trademark,
finish, doesn't it?
He does.
But if that had been take Forrest out of that position and put Mikey Johnson in it, and you're not wanting to be dependent on that ball hit the back of the net to get you back into a game or to win the game for you, or as it turned out in that case, just to secure the points in the last few seconds of the game. But I think it will be Mikey Johnson who will get the start on that side, which is why I'm desperate to see the likes of Abada getting back fit. I don't know what the time frame is for him. I think it's after Christmas anyway, January.
Abada's a couple of weeks away, and then Atati's January. But I think Maida, it's a possibility he could be in the squad tomorrow.
Okay.
That might change things a bit then. He might make the bench then, Maida. But it'll be Mikey Johnson and Parham.
Johnny's.
I've got my.
Oh, there he is, back now.
Despite the fact I've got not concerns, but that's the one criticism I would make of Palmer. He's not like an old-fashioned winger that takes on 3 or 4 people and turns them inside out and then gets the ball across. I don't think he's that style of player. He's a good player. He's a quality player, but he'll definitely start tomorrow and hopefully do some damage.
Yeah,
and I mean, because he likes an outside of the foot cross as well, doesn't he? So must be something to work on. But
he had a good assist at Tynecastle when we beat them 4-1 for Matt O'Reilly's goal. Just the way he kept over the defence. Yeah.
So and of course, if we get any penalty kicks, then he'll be the man to take it.
Yep, no nonsense penalty kick, please, Palmer. Connor, the forwards, obviously. And Kyogo right now. O's been starting a lot of games recently, and Kyogo got a start through the week. How concerned are you right now about Kyogo's form? Because last night me and Mark talked about it. And it is a fair point. I think Terry brought it up as well on PMP. We're all worried about this Asian Cup coming up and losing probably both of them. But Kyogo in current form, even when he was scoring lots of goals for us, he wasn't getting picked regularly for Japan. Do we have anything to worry about there? But if he does stick around for January and we don't lose him, he's got to start finding his scoring boots pretty soon, because if he's still going through the same form in those few games that we need to play in January and he can't find the back of the net, we're really struggling for an outball. But again, this is where it comes back to the board about they'll need to announce a new striker at some point. We cannot just go with just Kyogo and O for the rest of the season. We need at least a third option there. But yeah, Kyogo, O tomorrow. Who do you give the nod to on that one, Connor?
See, I would give it to Kyogo, despite the fact that he technically doesn't deserve it because he hasn't scored in so long. But I think because of the season he had last season, where he was a talisman, he was absolutely on fire. I think there's a part of you just praying to God that for whatever reason it just clicks and then he's back to his normal self. In terms of the Asian Cup, I don't think there's any chance that he'll be getting took on his current form unless between now and then he scores between 1 to 2 goals every game. I think there's dozens of Japanese players across Europe that are tearing it up right now, and that boy at Real Sociedad and stuff like that. Even though I think he's technically a winger, but
Kubo,
Kubo, and so I honestly I don't think he'll get took, which could be good for us. But I think when that rolls around, I think hopefully by then we'll have a third striking option, because O's. He's just no go to it. I'm sorry. He's been given chance after chance, and he's just no go to it. I understand that he tries really hard, and he he's been unlucky. I think I seen the clip the other night when he scored that goal. And
I know the 50-50. Yeah,
he was unlucky with that, but I think there's just times where you're like, just he's got a first touch like a fucking elephant. I thought Maeda was bad, but my goodness me, he's not very good at controlling it, is he? And he's
very raw. That's the word, Connor. Raw.
I know he's raw. I know.
Too many raw people in the Celtic team right now. Too many
and
raw players.
That's the problem. We're bringing in these project players. We're not signing, quality that's established themselves in leagues or in different teams. I think was O playing in like a championship side in Korea when we signed them, was he not?
Oh, apparently so. Again, I think their league is obviously differently formatted, but supposedly it was like the second tier of Korean football at the time. Yeah,
that's us signing fucking that boy Scott Tiffany for Partick Thistle, essentially. Do you know what I mean? That's what that is essentially. That's what it'd be like us doing. Could you imagine in January we signed, a striker for Hamilton or something like that? Like can you imagine the absolute uproar that would happen? And just because Ange had that Asian connection and he hit a few, golden nuggets with Kyogo and Rio and Dyson. We're all just convinced we had the blinders on that all across the Asian league that were just all amazing. There were all these untouched flowers waiting to be plucked by Celtic, and they would come in and be amazing. And I think we've had as many bad ones from that side of the globe as we've had good ones. So I think it's safe to say I think we have to just go with Kyogo and just for whatever reason just hope that he gets service, and if he does get it, he actually puts it in the back of the net. It's I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's missing having Maeda and Rio there putting the through balls and trying to be clever with the passing rather than being as predictable as we have been over the past few weeks. We're also just really missing a player like Giakoumakis. Like I miss him every week, man. It's not even funny anymore. He's did he get player of the season or something or there?
I don't know the exact what it was. I would be surprised if Messi get given the player of the season, only playing half a year because he was tearing it up. To be fair, but it's Messi, isn't it? But Giakoumakis was doing pretty well.
Records. He was breaking records over in that league, and I know people don't really rate the MLS, but let's be honest. If we can't fucking beat Kilmarnock, I reckon a team in the MLS could probably give us a doing. Let's be quite frank. Look, we just really missed that. We thought all was going to be Giakoumakis 2.0. Clearly not. I mean, folk didn't rate Giakoumakis at points, even though he was a top scorer in the Eredivisie and came to Celtic. The season he was there, and he was brilliant. He finished top scorer in his first season at Celtic, only playing about 6 months if you're lucky. And came up with a lot of important goals last season. Now, it's not even his fault that Kyogo is absolutely on fire last year. And do you know what? That's maybe just because Giakoumakis was there. He had competition. He had someone to push him for his jersey. He doesn't have that anymore. Not really, because even if Oda gets a start, he might score one or two, or he might, absolutely just have a shit game. Each is as likely as each other, and Kyogo will be back in the next again time. So I think we just need somebody who's going to push Kyogo for that spot, I think, and just to really, really come in and start hitting the ground running, because we cannot go into the second half of this season with only Kyogo and O as our two striking options. It'd be negligence at the highest order, and the scary thing is you could actually see it happening under the Celtic board. Do you know what I mean? I know there's been talk in papers and that. Well, Celtic seem to be eyeing up a third striking option in January, and then I'm pretty sure we've heard things like that before about other players coming in for these positions here and there, and we were meant to be getting a new goalkeeper in the summer there, and that never materialised either after we just banked millions for the Champions League. So I think it is really important we do get somebody up there. I don't know why we don't go with just two up top. Genuinely, I know Rodgers is stubborn in his way. People give Dan shit for being stubborn about his tactics and that. But Jesus, when it's not working, you need to try and mix it up a bit. Because if you've got two strikers up there, it's a hell of a lot that maybe aren't even scoring. It's a hell of a lot better than just having one singular striker who isn't scoring as much or very often. So I think I don't know. He needs somebody feeding him as well. He's not getting anybody feeding his runs anymore. Rio Hatate was very, very good for that when he was on form. You had players like Jota as well, Abada, Maeda, feeding him, and players like Palma and whoever else the fuck we put on the other wing, whether it's Forrest Yang or Mikey Johnson. They just don't seem to be doing it. They can't clock. I don't know if maybe he's too fast for them, he's too clever for them, making those runs too early, and they can't see it.
That happens. That happens. I think I said that a few weeks ago. Every home game I've been to, you'll get one moment of, because the cameras don't pick it up, but you see Kyogo makes a run and throws his arms up in the air like, because he made a run and they didn't spot it. But you actually mentioned the name there, and I'm going to go to you, Liam, with this one, because this is a question that Brian McGarry put in. Would Palmer maybe benefit from playing in the number 10 role? Because we're talking about he doesn't have the pace to be a winger. It's something that he lacks. But I think he's got the skill and the flair to be that sort of creative number 10. But do you think that would be a place for him to move into if he can't, he hasn't got the pace to run down the wing? Could that be something we could see?
Again, it is. It's putting square pegs in round holes, right? I mean, we've got him as a winger and that, and we've got other boys. Odin Holmes is more a number 10 and stuff like that. So we've got people in there to play that part. Whether they'll still be here in January, I don't know. But we are needing somebody to play that part. It could be Palmer. I mean, I like the way he uses it outside his boot and all that, but I don't know. He just doesn't have to. I don't know if he's got the smarts to play that. He wants to be Jota, but he doesn't have the skill of Jota, and he wants to make a big noise. He's wanting to put his boot through it and have it go through the net rather than just in the net. He's good. He's got skills, but he's no subtle. Like, you can see it coming. Once you see him moving to the outside a couple of times, good defenders will pick up on that and know that he's going to push that a yard away for you every single time when he turns back into the inside. And you can see guys, okay, so you get that, so you just got an extra stretch or something to do. I think this window, how we always say it's going to be a really, really hard window in January.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Because I think we're looking at European leagues at that. And now that we know that that's not our shopping market, this might be the better window. Because when we get guys from Japan coming in here, they're finished their season. Get guys coming in for the MLS, they finished their season.
They have, yeah.
Ryan Gold played over here in Vancouver this year, and he had an exceptional season. He was a playmaker. Best playmaker. He was on the highlight reels all the time. Yeah. I think you'll probably see a few players moving for the MLS this year, because just all the eyes they've had on them this year with Messi and all that. Cellini playing in LA and, big names. It's always, always attracts attention. And now you're seeing boys coming from the MLS like, Alphonso Davies and all that. And
Bayern Munich now, yep.
That might be the window that you see. And I could definitely see us going for Ryan Gold. We need a Scottish player to make that quota and stuff.
Well, that's true, actually, yeah.
Might be the player to play inside McGregor and let him flourish into something that just becomes he feeds Kyogo, feed him. Because that's what he did with our strikers here in Vancouver. He was absolutely brilliant at finding creative ways to get the ball past those defenders and onto the striker when they made space. He was catching the movements early, and he was able to deliver the ball with the right amount of pace on it that he could get to it. So he's a clever football player, and I think that's what we're needing. We're needing somebody that's got a football brain that can play that 10, that can play on Kyogo's level. Because as somebody said earlier on, Gary Brown, that I think he's unhappy, and I think we will lose him. And if he doesn't go to Japan this year, that's because he regressed playing our style of football, and he'll want a different style.
Aye, no, that's not fair comment. Now, before we do the predictions, we'll need to get a certain wee quiz in. I noticed that Johnny's screen was going a bit blurry, and I said earlier on, I wonder if his internet connection will hold up or will conveniently start breaking as the quiz goes around. Yeah, I was watching that.
My connection's absolutely fine, mate.
Good stuff. So yeah,
I was getting worried earlier on about yours.
We'll do by the numbers then, and we'll do that. And then we'll do predictions for the score tomorrow. So yeah. I'll get the aesthetics all set up like I normally do on Sutton Deaf. Luckily, these two belows here have played the quiz already, so they don't need to go through it again. They've proved their point. But yes, Johnny, it's going to be your turn now. So, have you?
I think Liam will still be top of the table.
Yeah, it's obviously you've seen the recent episodes and seen the format and so on. It's a bit of a play on Play Your Cards Right from the 1990s. Bruce Forsyth hosting it back in the day.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I've seen it all. Yeah,
good stuff. Your screen time. This is always a difficult Right. It always takes ages to set itself up, but let's see if we can do that. Yeah, they'll be fooled. I'm not the best when it comes to this StreamYard and this whole part. See if it's just bringing the pictures up, that's no problem, but the actual sharing screen part usually takes a bit longer. There we go, that's your bit coming through now. So Johnny, can you see the by the numbers graphic?
Yeah, I've got that, mate, yeah.
Good stuff, good stuff. And it's quite clear, it's not blurry or anything, no?
No, it's absolutely fine, mate. No excuses coming up, mate.
Good stuff, good stuff. Yeah, so obviously the first one that comes up will be your starter one. You don't need to answer any questions on that. That's just basically your starting block, and it'll be a case of guessing higher or lower. You also get a point for getting that part right. And of course, there is an accompanying question about each player whose shot comes up after the first one. So you've got 5 of them to get through, and you'll obviously get a point for each of them. And they are multiple choice. So, yeah, it might jog your memory as soon as you hear the potential answers. So, let's get started. What is your first shot? It is number 18, Tom Rogic. It's, and the play your cards right tradition, this would be a bit of a stinker to get when you're going for higher or lower, because of course the squad numbers can be anything. But higher or lower than an 18, Johnny?
Oh, go lower.
Lower than an 18 it is.
Dave.
Odsonne Edouard in this one. So a question on Odsonne Edouard. So Odsonne Edouard bagged a goal on his Celtic debut, but against which SPFL side? Was it Hamilton Academical, Ross County, or St Johnstone?
Hamilton, I think.
It was Hamilton Academical. Yep, we beat them 4-1 at New Douglas Park on his debut. Came on as a sub. Okay, so higher or lower than a 22?
That's much the same as the last one, isn't it? I'll go lower again.
Oh, and it is... it's number 7. It's Henrik Larsson. First time he's came up so far in this. So, yeah, a question on the greatest, the GOAT, essentially, the greatest of all time. Henrik Larsson's final league goals for Celtic were scored against who? Kilmarnock, Dundee United, or St Mirren?
Dundee United.
It was Dundee United, yes, indeed. So higher or lower than a 7, Johnny?
Oh, I'm going to go higher on that one.
Higher. It is 33. Berham Kyle. Okay, so Berham Kyle left Celtic to join which English Championship team who are now in the Premier League? Brentford, Brighton, or Bournemouth? All the Bs.
Right. Brighton.
It was Brighton, yes, it was. Well done. Okay, so higher or lower than a 33?
Lower.
Lower than is 21, Charlie Mulgrew, so it is lower, yes indeed. Okay, so Charlie Mulgrew's first goal for Celtic, which came in his second spell at the club, was scored at which stadium? Hampden, Celtic Park, or Pittodrie?
Pittodrie.
It was Hampden, but it was against Aberdeen. That's why Pittodrie was thrown in there, just in case you had a vision.
I thought there'd be an Aberdeen connection because he was there, wasn't he? So I thought there might be an Aberdeen aspect to that.
It was just a case of you envisioned it in your head and knew it was against Aberdeen. You might think, oh, it was at Pittodrie. No, it was at Hampden in a cup semi-final. That was his first goal. And higher or lower than a 21?
Higher.
Higher than a 21. It's Gary Caldwell, number 5, so it's lower. A question on Gary Caldwell. Who saw this one coming? God. We're talking about bad defenders earlier, like Nat Phillips. Jeez, Gary Caldwell, man. Okay, so Gary Caldwell has an unwanted stat of having scored a hat-trick of own goals in European competition for Celtic. But what colour links all the teams that he scored own goals against? Yellow, blue, or red?
Jesus Christ, Phil.
If you can envision any of the goals, if you can see any of the goals in your head that he scored...
I can't, as it happens. I can't, but I'm going to go for yellow.
Red. Benfica, Arsenal, and Aalborg. He scored 3 own goals.
Oh, okay.
Gary Caldwell also was famous for chumming. I think it was after they played Benfica when he scored an OG. We got cuffed 3-0 on the night, and he had a particularly bad night. And he said, will learn from this, and then he proceeded to score 2 more own goals in the next few years in European football. So Gary Caldwell evidently didn't learn from this. No, he did not. But yep, that concludes a game of By the Numbers. You've now done it, Johnny. That's it. You don't need to do it again. So there you go. Smashing. Nice one, mate. Nice one.
Told you Liam would still be top of the leaderboard at the
still top of the
end of
table.
the show.
I know Edward did come up in amongst the top of the table indeed. So yeah, before we go, just a quick round the table of score predictions for tomorrow against Hearts. So Johnny, what do you say for tomorrow?
I think it's going to be a nervy, tense affair, and I'm going to go 2-1. Celtic, obviously.
Good stuff. Connor, you were quite downbeat at the start, thought about the forum. Do you think we'll turn that around tomorrow? A rousing victory? Or is it going to be one of those kind of looking through your fingers at it type of victory? Bit of an ugly one? How do you feel it'll go?
I mean, I'm already 50% right with my predictions because after my rant last week, I said I will probably go and beat Feyenoord and we'll cuff Hearts. So I'm going to go for a 5-1 Celtic.
Oh, lovely. I hope that's the case. Hope so. And Liam, what about yourself? What do you think for tomorrow?
We're going to find out tomorrow if Brendan's a manager or no. By seeing what sort of team he puts out. So is it your team? Or is it a team you're trying to just make everybody happy and be a nice guy? Because that's great that we got excited about the win through the week, but this is the league tomorrow, right? So back to the boys stuff. So he's got to show up. I think it was going to be 4-2, and I think we're going to. I think Shankland's going to be in the shop window for them. He's going to be want to have a big game, and you never know. There might be some other boys think that as well too. Not just for us, but it's a big game for them to show up because they know Shankland, Rangers, and looking at him, right? So we'll see how he plays against us, and you never know. You can see Matt Phillips in there. We'll find out what sort of break we've got now. Tomorrow will tell. That's what I'm looking for. So, but I think we'll win 4-2.
4-2. I'll go for 3-1 in this one. And yeah, tomorrow is a weekend where they don't even play a league game. So every week we come on, we talk about, getting a play ahead of them. Yeah, Rangers are playing the cup final on Sunday. So when this weekend concludes, they'll then have 2 games in hand on us. But I think they play the first of those games in hand midweek against St Johnstone. And then the next one is Hibs away that they've got sometime in January. So that one's on the back burner for you well. So it's just vital that Celtic just keep getting the points on the board right now and just try and keep them at arm's length for the time being until we play them on December 30th. And then ideally, we obviously beat them there as well and definitely keep them at arm's length. But yeah, until then, we'll obviously be talking about that one in due course. But first and foremost, we play Hearts, so let's get those points on the board tomorrow. If you're going to the game, of course, folks, enjoy it. Wrap up Warham. It's going to be another cold one, I would imagine. I'll be there for the tomorrow. And we will, PMP will be on tomorrow evening as well. Russell and Terry will be back to discuss the game. So look out for that. Of course, you haven't subscribed yet. If you do so, and hit the bell notification bell, when PMP goes live. So look out for it tomorrow. And yeah, we shall catch you later, folks. Enjoy the game tomorrow, however you manage to watch it. And thanks for joining me as well tonight, guys, because, as I say, busy bus. It's not usually a busy Friday service, but it has been tonight. So thanks massively for getting involved and helping me out tonight. And yeah, we'll catch you all later, folks. See you.
See you guys.
Cheers.